MSTY went down last week, but what does it look like now? Hello my friends, this is Legend. I know MSTY took a little bit of a tumble earlier this past week, and a lot of people of course are a little worried about it, but as I said in a previous video, you kind of got to look at all the other stocks in the market. If everything is up and skyrocketing and MSTY is dropping, then it might be something to look a little bit deeper into. It could be a sector thing, of course, but maybe it's just the fact that it's falling on out. But that's not really the case of what happened this past few days. Earlier this past week, MSTY dropped, but of course, so did the market at that time. As you can see here, VOO, which tracks the S&P 500, and I say that because if you look, this is Vanguard's S&P 500, and if I go to the S&P 500 SPY, it looks exactly the same. So it's exactly the same. They're going to track the same. The dollar amount is just slightly off, but the graphs are almost identical. So if you look here on the SPY, you can see that there was that huge red candle right here, and I'm going to hide some of my lines here so it's not confusing. But you can see that big red candle that we had, and that was on the 18th, 18th being Wednesday. On Wednesday is when we had that big drop. That's when the Fed came out and spoke, and the market just plummeted. Okay, but as you can see, we did have a nice little recovery here on the 20th, which is that Friday. So this past Friday, we did get a little bit of a green candle. So what happened with MSTY? Did it also follow, or did it just continue to go down? So if we look at MSTY here, you can see there is the 18th here. So it was coming down a little bit, and then it dropped that 18th and 19th. And of course, then the 20th, we had a nice green candle. Bitcoin did go back up at that time. It has since dropped back down over the weekend here. As you can see, Bitcoin is back down. We're around 94K on Bitcoin. But of course, Bitcoin is very volatile. Therefore, it does affect MSTY. As you can see here, MSTY did have a nice green candle on Friday. It looks like it had a low of $27.86. It went as high as $31.20 and closed at the $31.17. So we closed pretty much on the high for the day. So there was a bit of recovery for Friday. That's a good sign. I like to see that, especially right after the dividend. And it did kind of what I said that it normally would do. Is, after ex-dividend date, it will recover normally, not always, and not guaranteed. But, in the past, it drops on ex-dividend, and then it goes back up the next few days. So it looks like that's exactly what we did here. We pretty much almost recovered that drop that we had on the ex-dividend date here. So, with that being said, I did buy some stocks on this day. So I purchased mine, but of course, as I stated in that video, I had bought mine around about that 31.50-ish. So I hit it pretty much right here at the top, and it fell all the way down to here at around about $28. Wish I would have got it at the 28, but I didn't, and that's okay because had I waited, that 31.50 could have been the bottom, and it would have ended up closing at, say, 33, and I would have wished that I would have bought it at the 31.50. So unless you can tell the future, you never know. I just decide that I'm going to purchase on the ex-dividend date, so that's what I do. So we had that red candle the day before. So when it came out, it was about right here at that where my cursor is, and I just went ahead and bought it at that point, thinking and hoping maybe it was just going to continue to go up. Well, it didn't. It just came on back down, and that's mostly just because we did have some bit of a red time going on that week. That was the 18th and that 19th where I bought MSTY. As you can see, we still were having a red candle here, so therefore it did have another red day. But it did recover some, and MSTY did as well. So I'm hoping this one here, we're seeing a little bit of a bottom here. And as I said before, if I draw this line right here, about right there, you can see it looks like it bounced here, bounced here, bounced here, and looks like now we got close to another hit right here. And even if we take it up to that point right there, you can see we're hitting that line a few times. So you can consider that as a support. Does not mean it cannot break support and fall on down. But if it can bounce off of that, then we can use that as a support. And then, of course, then we still have our ceiling up here at about $40.14 now. So with that being said there, that's what I'm hoping for. We did get a little bit of a recovery here, so I'm happy about that. So let's check out the Morningstar chart, and let's just see what it really looks like. It gives a truer look of what the stock actually looks like. It takes into account the NAV. So here we are on the Morningstar chart, and as you can see here, we do have a trend line going up. That would be basically if you drew a line from the start here at the 22.50 and you drew a line up to the end here at the 31.17, it is increasing. So on average, this one here is trending up, even though we have had some high points and we've had some drops. And this is a 3-month chart, and this is just looking at the price. This is the price alone. This does not include the dividend. So just price alone, it is trending up. So when we add their dividend back in, and we'll do that by going here and clicking price with the dividend. And as you can see here, now this red line tells a little bit of different story here, doesn't it? It goes all the way up to here now. So it is increasing even more than just the price because the dividend's been added on top of the price. So if just the price was going up, then of course the dividend is up even higher. The dividend itself can be either just slightly above it or way above it. Just depends on how much they pay in the dividend for the stock. And as we know, MSTY's been paying out some pretty nice dividends. So therefore, that's why you get this bigger separation between the price and the price with dividend. Okay. So you start seeing that. That's a nice trend going up. So that gives me a little bit more of a better feeling about the stock itself. I'm not too worried personally about MSTY. If I want to zoom all the way out, I can zoom out to a 1-year chart. And as you can see, just the price is still got an upward trend. We're looking at about the 21.60 going up to 31.17. So it's got still an upward trend overall. And then you tack on the dividend on top of that. And wow, just amazing. It's amazing. I mean, we're looking at a 1-year chart here of a 47% just in price increase. Then when you tack on the dividend, you're looking at a 264% increase on a year chart. Tell me something else that you can get that kind of return with. That is amazing. I've not been in anything like this before. Now, with that being said, that doesn't mean that all of these high yield strategies and ETFs are like this. Not all of them are making money like this. Not all of them are profitable. MSTY is very profitable, but not all of them are. So that's why you have to do your own research and your own study to look and find out, is the one that you're in, is it profitable or not? Because I can use one for example of AMDY. I am in AMD. And let's just take a look at AMDY. All right, so here we are on AMDY. And I've shown this before on other videos, but I just wanted to show that not all of the high yield ETFs are profitable. As you can see here, now we're just looking at the price alone. The price alone is down 56% on a 1-year chart. Not exactly what you want to see, but you have to think, well, this does pay a dividend as well. Maybe the dividend is making up for that drop and I am making money still. It'd have to be a really significant dividend to recover this kind of drop. But let's just check to see. So to check our dividend, we just tack on the price with dividend and it will put it right on top of it. So as you can see here with the price, that's a downtrend. If I drew a line from the beginning to the end, that would be a downward slope line. So therefore, it is on a downtrend on the price. How about the dividend? Once we add the dividend back on top, if I'm looking at it here, we're looking at a start of, again, around about $22. Okay, $22 at the beginning of December 20th, 2023. So where are we now? So even when you add the dividend back on the price on top of it, we're at $19.04. Adding the dividend back on, that's basically what that value would be of those shares. So if we started at the $22, if we started at the 22 and we're at 19 with the dividend, I think you understand. We're losing money on AMDY. AMDY is not profitable. Now, granted, could it be profitable for you? Well, it is very possible that it is profitable for you. If you got in, say you caught a dip right here and you got in at that $12.77 and it's at $19 now, hey, it's still profitable for you. Now, granted, this again is with the dividend back on top, right? Because even with that, if I go down here, we're looking at the actual price being around $12.75 to the end of $9.91. So even with that, it's still down. So let's take it to a 3-month chart. That might be a better chart to look at. And as you can see, just even short term, this one is going down. And as I said in my previous video, I've put AMDY, I've put them on notice. If they can't turn it around, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sell out of AMDY. I'll take my loss with my dividend added back on top, but I still will take a bit of a loss on AMDY. But that's no different than any other stock that you can get into. If it gets to the point where you don't have faith in it, or you just don't think it's right at the moment, then you got to make a decision of what you want to do. But for me, if this one does not turn around, I am going to probably sell out of AMDY and then focus on the other ones that I am in. And just to show you some of the ones that I am in, let's go over to my spreadsheet and I'll show what I have as far as in the ETFs, because I do have Yieldmax, I've got a Round Hill, and I've got some Defiance ETFs in there. Okay, so here we are on the high yield strategy portfolio. So this is my spreadsheet that I created, and what I'm showing here is basically the tickers that I am in and the ones that paid out that week as well. For the ones here at this top part, the IWMY, QDTE, QQQY, WDTE, and YMAX, all of those pay out every single week. For the dividend this week, this is the numbers that they actually paid out. Looks like it ranges from about 12 cents to about 32 cents per share on those. And then I'm showing the amount that I actually earned dollar value wise and how much I actually reinvested back into it for that week, for this past week. Here's AMDY. It did pay out. They paid out the 30 cent, so that gave me about $233. And I went in and I reinvested back into it at about $253 back into it this past week. I know I said I have them on notice, and I do, but until I drop them, I will stick with my strategy. So if they do not have it turned around by the next time it goes ex-dividend, then that is about the time that I will probably look to go ahead and sell out of AMDY. But anyway, I'm not too worried about that. I'll take my money and I will put it into the ones that are still moving up. And CONY, of course, it paid out. I reinvested back into this. Now this here was the week before. This was week 3 or week C. These were the week C payouts, okay? And I may have said last week, but that was actually for the week before. And now if I scroll right down to here, I can see week 4, which is group D as in dog. These are the payouts for this week. And if you notice here, these are blank because I do not enter the amount that I have actually earned until it shows up into my account. And it normally does not show up until about Tuesday. Monday or Tuesday is when it shows up into my account. And at that point, I will put this value back in here. But I have already invested or reinvested back into all of these along with MSTY here. Because these are the dividends that I actually earned the previous week. That's how I'm able to buy the stock with the dividends. Because I use the dividends the week before to buy the stocks that are going ex-dividend that following week. Because you cannot buy at the ex-dividend with the dividends that you are just getting paid, because you don't get paid until Friday, but they went ex-dividend on Thursday. So when they go ex-dividend on Thursday and they pay out on Friday, you cannot use those dividends because the ex-dividend date for that stock is already passed. So I hold the dividend amount that I earned the week before in order to buy the stocks that would go ex-dividend that week. So I used last week's money to buy more stocks for this week, just to put it simple. So in week 4 or week group D here, as you can see, these ranged from about 13 cents to QDTE paid out 86, almost 87 cents. That was a huge one. QDTE was a nice dividend payout. And that is a Roundhill fund. So QDTE paid out the 86 cents. And as you can see right here in this column, that's the amounts that I put back into each stock. And for MSTY, we earned $3.08 this past week, and I have put another $600 back into MSTY. And that $600, where it came from, was not from MSTY. It came from the week before, like I said. So it came from the weekly payout ETFs that paid out last week, and these are the ones that pay out weekly, and that amount of $600 basically goes to buy more of my monthly ETF. So, and that's why you see $600 here, because that $600 was actually earned the week before. Same thing with here. This $64 of each one of these weekly ones was actually pulled from what I earned from AMDY and CONY. That amount here is what I actually use to buy more weekly ones. So I use my monthly to buy more weekly and my weekly to buy more monthly. And I use the dividend that I earned the week before so that I do not have to add more capital to these. I can reinvest the actual dividend amount that I receive. Now, you can do this through your broker as well by using the DRIP. And if you use DRIP, what that does is when you get paid your dividend, it takes it and it just drips it right back in. It reinvests for you. And a lot of brokers can do that for you. So you don't have to necessarily do it this way. I do this because I'm using funds of the monthly to pay my weekly and my weekly funds to buy my monthly ones. And you can't do that with the DRIP. The DRIP would basically say if MSTY pays you $100 and you want to put that back in, reinvest it, it would reinvest that $100 and it would buy $100 worth of shares for MSTY at that time of ex-dividend date. So that's just how it works. And that's simpler if you want to do it that way. I like to complicate things a little bit, but it keeps it interesting for me. And that way the same fund isn't funding itself. You know, stock A to fund stock B and stock B to fund stock A is basically what I'm doing. So I don't want to necessarily give encouragement to MSTY, but I just wanted to say that you know, I'm out there, I'm with you. I'm into MSTY. I am long MSTY. I see it to be a long-term play. But I have had a question of what is long-term for me, and that's a hard question, really. For me, nothing is set it and forget it. When you're talking about high yield, high risk ETFs or anything like that, I don't think it's very prudent, very smart to just buy in and let it go and never look at it again, right? Set it and forget it, because it is not the SPY. You know, if this was SPY, then yes, you can just buy in SPY monthly, and over 5, 10, 15 years, you will probably be up. And I say probably only because nobody knows the future. But in history, it has done nothing but gone up, even after the drops and the valleys and the hills. Overall, it does go up. So with that being said, you know, the SPY is something that you can set it and forget it. Anything like this, I don't see it as, you know, I'm just jumping in and close my eyes, right? Until it shows me different, I'm in it. And that's kind of what I mean by long term for MSTY, is I'm in it until it tells me something different. As long as it's still going up and it's profitable in my account, then I am willing to take that risk to let it continue to go up and down. And as long as on average this thing is moving up, I'm happy. I'm happy. Now, AMDY, that's a different story. And again, that was before I really understood a little bit more about the NAV. I only understood about how you buy or sell options, right? And I sell options in my portfolio. And understanding that, I just saw that and saw the dividend and thought, well, this is a win-win situation. And I got into AMDY without really fully understanding that NAV. Because if you look at a chart, it seems to be all right. But when you really start looking into it and you start adding that NAV erosion to it, and AMDY would be one that you could consider it being eroded by the NAV. So anyway, I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. So don't forget to like and subscribe and share this video out. It's much appreciated. And as always, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence before you get into any stock plays. And until next time, legend out.